They see us on the side of the road running radar. And they're like, oh, they're just making money. They're just out there to make money. Where the fuck is that money going? It ain't going to us.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah, that's
I don't. What is your point? We're not making. I don't show up to work and go, man, how much money can I make for the city? Because guess what? They don't allocate that money to the cops. That is
they're more
under.
enlightened than us, bud. They know what's going on. And and I've gone on these rants before. Like, we've heard of little towns that have the speed traps or whatever. And I'm like, if your town exists, your police department exists to like fleece people speeding through your city to pay for whatever in your town. Okay. I get it. That's probably a little bit problematic, but let's be honest. How many people die on the roadways? Of course you need yeah, is it funny to make fun of troopers and traffic cops? Yes. Of course you need speed enforcement. Like, people want to just live in this. They're like, oh, we don't need the cops, whatever. And it's like, okay, so we're just gonna live in this. We all know there's a bunch of assholes running around, right?
Yeah.
We all know that, right? But we're just gonna take the I don't know. I don't know how it is in your great state, but things in a lot of states are not good for police and they can't do anything anymore. So you're going to tie their hands even more. What do you think is going to happen? Of course, you need these things. Like, I think we all agree, like, we shouldn't be writing chicken shit tickets to people, soccer mom or whatever. Hey, slow down, lady. But people, sorry, man, traffic enforcement's a thing. And whether you can get the point across with a ticket or the point across with a warning, it doesn't matter. And here's the other thing. You want your burglary solved? You want people caught? How, McVeigh, he was caught on a traffic stop
Yeah.
for some minor violation. Traffic enforcement gets you contacting people, talking to people. You got a burglary ring in your city. You stop some cars in that area. You see some stolen stuff in the back of cars. Traffic does a lot more than just traffic, but you can't, people just, they can't think outside their little bubble.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely strategies to what traffic stops are. Now, working midnights in a city, just like you said, we're talking about burglaries and stuff like that. Known dope areas, shitbag hotels. The traffic stop in itself isn't what we're after. We're trying to be proactive through the act of traffic stops. If you see something, awesome. You start asking questions. So there's that strategy to the traffic stop, and then there's the other strategies. You've got complaints in the area, or there's been a lot of accidents, whatever it is. And then that is why those speed traps, so to speak, may be set up. But I sure as hell can tell you it's not because the cop woke up that morning and he's like, all right, I got to make money for the city. That's not how that goes. And that money does not go. It's not allocated directly to the police. Sometimes that money makes it to police, sometimes. But for the majority, it's just for the city in itself. And a lot of times that's going to go to the public office. It's going to go to, your mayor having a brand new car, or, putting up a bunch of artwork around your city. It just depends on what type of city you're in. I'm in a major city, so I've seen
It's artwork. It's artwork.
Yeah, I've seen where
Always
some of
artwork.
this money goes. But and then the other thing to consider, and this is kind of getting deep in the weeds here, but imagine you've wanted to be a cop your whole life. You finally get it. And you're like, I'm going to catch these robbers. I'm going to catch these murderers. I'm going to catch these thieves. And you get put in a little podunk city. And guess what you don't have? You don't have robbers. You don't have murderers. And you don't have many thieves. So what enforcement do you have to do? You're not running call to call necessarily. You're lucky if you get 2 or 3 calls a day in some of these, more rural cities. And you kind of blue-balled as a cop. So what can you do that will let you somehow hone all of these skills that you've learned and do something and maybe get lucky? And that's traffic stops. So when you get pulled over by some of these smaller cities, or troopers, no offense, troopers, but that's all they've got. They don't have anything else to enforce. And if they do nothing, guess who's going to complain? If they don't pull people over all day long and they're only getting 2 or 3 calls, they're going to be like, 1, why am I paying you what I'm paying you? And 2, why am I paying you at all? You're not doing anything. So there's going to be that side. And then there's going to be the other folks that are complaining because, you should be out there catching the real bad guys. So that is something to consider when you're thinking about cops and writing tickets. Some of these guys, that's what they do. That's the only level of law enforcement they got. And guess what? Like you said, every once in a while we catch that McVeigh, or every once in a while we catch somebody human trafficking or smuggling dope, or whatever that has warrants. A person that's got some serious warrants somewhere. That that's a level of proactive policing that, the basic level. And that's how a lot of cops start learning to talk to people is through traffic stops and whatnot. So you guys can complain all you want, but that's what we got. Is that a perspective you've ever heard?
Yeah, I've heard that, and I agree. I have a little bit different of a perspective on it, and I as you're talking, I'm to play devil's advocate. The anti-cop people are like, well, you're just this is a police state. You're being stopped, and I just want people to like stop and think about a sec for this for a second. In order to get stopped, you have to be doing something, right?
Well, I've got a right to
And
travel, so
yeah, I'm a boat captain. I'm a pirate. I'm the road pirate.
a
I'm
road
stopping you,
pirate,
but
yeah.
and I get it. Like nobody wants to get stopped by the cops, right? I'm not gonna like tell anybody like, oh, it's a great feeling to get stopped because just oh shit, is my insurance card in here? Is my registration? Oh crap, because most people go throughout their lives and never have to deal with us. So when you get stopped, it's like it's kind of a big deal. And for cops, those interactions make make them as good of an interaction as they can. Obviously you can't please everybody, but that goes a long way. But so for the people that are like, oh, you're just harassing people to harass them. You're speeding, dude. You're speeding. Like it's posted. You know, I I I kind of have this thought, and this is something that's been formulating in my brain. So I started in a bigger city, and it was great. I think if you're a cop that's like in it for the action, you got to know where you're applying. And I understand sometimes you have, and it's different now. You probably get a job anywhere you want now. But when I was applying, you kind of have to take the first job, right? Whatever you get, whoever picks you first, you got to take. I understand that. I don't know if it's the case anymore, but know where you're applying. Hey, if I'm applying in a small area, no, you're not going to be chasing robbers and murderers. You're just not. Like it may happen, but it not with the frequency of a big area. So if you want that action and excitement, and that reminds me of something you said earlier. We'll talk about this in a second. But if you want that action and excitement, go to a big city, go to a mid-sized city. That's great. If you're like a small town guy and you want to be there for people and make community contacts and drive around all day, go do that small area. Uh, I would argue that maybe a good way to start your careers in a small town, kind of get your feet wet a little bit, and then move up to that excitement, so you can kind of start slow and work into it. But I would say if you're burnt out of a big city, if you can, and obviously money's a thing too, because you're not going to make the money anywhere but the big cities these days, and maybe some of these nicer suburbs. Go to one of those slower places to kind of slow down your career where you can actually help like real victims, you know. And so if I get into law enforcement again, it's not in the big city. I've told myself I'm never going back to the big city. I would be perfectly okay working in a small county, working in a small town. I don't need the action and excitement anymore. I'm there for when people actually need me. And uh, and this is just me personally. I know how young cops are. I don't have a reason to go out and stop cars. If I see somebody that needs stopped, I would absolutely go stop them. But you've made a bunch of traffic stops. You've seen it all, kind of thing, which is that's ignorant to say, but you guys know what I'm saying here. You don't need that action and excitement, and there's no problem letting somebody off with a warning, or as long as you're making contacts. If you go to an agency and you're trying to figure out, hey, do I want to work there, and they expect tickets, and I want you writing a ton of tickets, be a little concerned about that. If they, hey, we want you doing making contacts, doing your job. How many people have worked at an agency where the guy that writes a million tickets gets all the recognition, the guy that stops a lot of cars and gets a lot of dope and guns but doesn't write traffic tickets gets no recognition? I've seen it.
Yeah,
um
absolutely.
and it brings me to a point of something you said way back about the cities, working in a city where they don't want cops. That is another thing for people getting into law enforcement. Again, I get the fun and excitement part of it, but I would strongly discourage anybody from working in a city where they openly it's an issue, right? Where they don't like cops. There's been a lot of issue. Really research your admin. Don't put yourself out there for people that don't want you there and that people aren't going to support you.